because that's the big unreported story, Roshan, is the massive amount of conversions to Islam that's happening all over Europe. I know we're pulled towards protest action, lobbying MPs, running in general elections, reporting on those general elections. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It has its place, and it's important. But as a Muslim news outfit, as Muslims, our religion is the most powerful and important thing that we have. But let's apply it. Let's make that our number one battle plan, if you want.
So obviously if you're working in an environment where there's lots of non-Muslim colleagues, you give dawah to them. It doesn't have to be always direct, but it can be indirect as well through your example. But ultimately you are trying to deliver the message of Islam to them, and whether they convert or not is their business, but you want to deliver the message. If literally you are staying here and all you're trying to do is accumulate wealth and money and children, I believe that Islam says this as well, it's haram to stay here in a non-Muslim country.
Yeah.
So if you're going to stay and you're going to stick around, and I know most of you are, then think about what dawah you're giving.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Muslims Uncensored with me, Robert Carter, and Roshan Saleh. Now, this episode's a little bit different. We're not going to be focusing on hard news so much. Not really, well, they are current affairs we'll be discussing today, but it's a bit of a breakaway from, whatever is happening in the news purely today. We're going to be talking about other subjects which we have been requested on many occasions in the comment section to talk about. I'm going to talk about homeschooling a bit and being engaging as a parent in a Muslim way. We're also going to be talking about things like the hijab and the Dawah scene. So, a little breakaway from what we usually do here on Muslims Uncensored, but I think it's long overdue. Assalamu alaikum, Roshan. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me on my show. It's a little bit of a different, we can pull on Roshan's years of wisdom,
expertise,
and expertise. Centuries worth in that in that encyclopedia of a head that he's got. So yeah, Roshan, welcome. Thank you for coming on my show. And let's talk about the first subject. So basically, one of the things I wanted to kickstart with.
You see what I did there? I didn't dignify your comment with a response.
I'm below my dignity. I was waiting for it, a Roshan response, but you didn't rise to the occasion. No. So you just left
beneath me.
Just left me sitting there looking like a complete idiot. Well done. Well, we're going to be talking about one subject which I think a lot of people do like to hear from us, but we don't get around to it enough, and it's basically the concept of dawah in the UK. We're not Dawah guys like in the same way that Iera, who specialize in this. Obviously we do hard news, but we do work within that parameter as well. I mean, the fact is, you've said a few times that Five Pillars uses news as a vehicle to spread Islam, frankly. And we're quite proud of that. And we do cover Dawah stories. We do platform converts. I'm a convert, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't guess already. I converted to Islam. So it's very important.
Yeah, in my own mind, Robert, sorry to cut you off, but in my own mind, it's very clear the reason why I'm doing this is to spread awareness about Islam and Muslims and the Ummah. And I'm not just like writing stories that I enjoy writing. I do love my job as well, but that's not why I do it. It is literally, I see it very clearly as a dawah exercise. Obviously, it might not be the conventional dawah you think of, handing out leaflets in the street and engaging non-Muslims with direct conversations about Islam, but I consider any activity which is about promoting and spreading Islam to be dawah, and that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. There's a really good study that's being organised and done right now. It's spearheaded by Iera and also the Ayan Institute. We've reported on it. You can see it on our website here. They're basically reaching out to converts. They're interviewing them, asking them questions, compiling information and research on the thoughts and feelings of why people are embracing the religion and all that type of stuff. It's a fantastic survey, a fantastic bit of research. I've contributed towards it, and I urge you guys to do as well. I'll leave a link in the comment section as well, in the description section, so anyone watching, any converts, reverts, whatever you like to call yourselves, you can engage and push it, because that's the big unreported story, Roshan, is the massive amount of conversions to Islam that's happening all over Europe. And I know this is a fact, not because I've met a few in my work here at Five Pillars, but because online there's just so many. There's so many, and they're going viral all the time. People filming themselves going to Medina, people filming themselves at home in Sweden, England, Scotland, wearing the hijab or the niqab even, you know. A lot of women converting to Islam, black, white, young, old. Lewisham Islamic Centre, which we've reported on. There is a massive appetite for Islam in this country, okay? And I know that obviously the far right gets all the attention, but the unreported story, the phenomena that's happening is massive conversions to Islam.
And I don't think it's because of our efforts. I think apart from Iera, we don't really have a systematic institutions which are there simply to convert non-Muslims to Islam. I think it's happening, you know, first and foremost by the will of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why it's happening. But also I think all the hate that people are seeing in the news, on X, is getting people curious.
Really,
and they're thinking people don't believe the mainstream version anymore, you know, and they want to see what's behind the headlines, and they're doing their own research, and thousands of them are concluding that actually Islam is the solution for them.
So basically, one of the messages I wanted to put out there today while we're on the subject is we need to remind ourselves of the importance of the concept of Dawah and the activism of Dawah. This was an initiative which I filmed for 5 Pillars, I think last year now. It was an effort by Iera to go out into the streets of London, to put Quranic quotes on billboards in public spaces like London Undergrounds, and also to hand out free copies of the Quran and stuff like that. So a big push across the capital to introduce people to the Quran, talk about Islam. I saw a bunch of shahadas take place on the day. There were just people rolling up saying, you know what, I've read into it, I'm planning on conveying. And they said, well, if you want to do it, now's the time. We can do shahada right now if you want. And they got some people saying shahada right there and then. Just literally passers by saying, I'm ready to convert right now. And then boom, another new Muslim. I
think you should do more of this, Robert, because obviously you have an expertise being a convert yourself. But I think there's a massive appetite for conversion stories. And
there's a sister right there in a hijab, white sister.
I don't think we've exploited this enough. I know that you went to Lewisham Mosque once, and that was a bit of a viral video, but I think this is something that you should focus on a little bit more.
I know, that's the problem. This is what I'm saying. And I have mentioned this to Roshan. I'm mentioning it to you guys as well. I know we're pulled towards protest action, lobbying MPs, running in general elections, reporting on those general elections. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It has its place, and you know it's important. But as a Muslim news outfit, as Muslims, our religion is the most powerful and important thing that we have. Okay, the Quran is way more powerful and important than, say, left-wing manifestos and whatever else, or particular whatever that you're into elsewhere. And we need to, we know that already, but let's apply it. Let's make that our number one battle plan, if you want. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, be too aggressive in my language, but we are fighting a battle between good and evil, and we are on the side of good, and we have a good, beautiful message, and we need to get out there because people want it. They want Islam. Like me, if they hear it, if they understand it, they may just go out and embrace it. Millions of people potentially in this country. Millions out there who don't know anything about Islam. So we have to get out there. Let's do more of this. More of this, please.
I mean, one of the things, I want to say two things. First of all is my own story. Obviously, I'm not a convert. I was born Muslim, alhamdulillah. But there was a point in my life where I became more of a practicing Muslim. I think I was always a believing Muslim. Of course I was. I always believed in God, and I always believed in Islam as my faith, even though I grew up in a very kind of secular environment surrounded by non-Muslims in Sri Lanka and then in North Wales. But I really started to kind of practice Islam, I think probably in my late teens, early 20s. And it was because of reading the Quran and connecting with the Quran. Then it was in the English language. So it was a translation of the meaning of the Quran. But even that had the power to move me. I thought, this is the word of God. This is literally the word of God. I'm going to dedicate my life to this.
Yeah.
The second thing I want to say is that I think that Islam, what makes Islam so powerful is that it's there for every single personality type. So if you're an alpha male, Islam is for you. There's something in Islam for you. if you're a bit of a liberal Sufi type, there's something. Even if you're a bit of a liberal, you're a bit soft or whatever, a bit effeminate, I'm not talking about, not too effeminate, but if you have a softer personality type, there is something in Islam for you. If you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're on the left, if you're on the right, every single personality type, there is something in Islam for you.
Yeah, I met a convert who said he converted to Islam because he loves nature. That was his thing. And he was like, the religion of Islam has a lot of teachings about caring for the creation of Allah. We're stewards to caretake the world that he's created for us. So take care of the trees, care for animals, raise livestock, basically to be a bunch of farmers. And that message really appealed to him. And he embraced Islam for that reason. Can you believe it? A tree hugger.
This has reminded me of something I did a few years ago. I helped write a book on Muslim converts. And I spoke to quite prominent Muslim converts like Paul Williams, Christiana Bakker, and many others as well. Paul Keeler was another one people may have heard of. And they all came to Islam for different reasons. Christiana came through it through Imran Khan and through travel. Paul came through it, I think, through a more of a logical process.
He's a books guy.
Others came to it through an emotional process.
Yeah.
So there's so many different pathways into Islam.
Yeah.
I think one of the people that and I think Islam often attracts extreme personality types as well, like the far right, or the far left.
Yeah. That's why this idea we hear from our left-wing friends. Why did you talk to that guy? Why did you platform that far right individual? Why are you doing that? Yeah, because Islam is for all mankind, remember. And although they're on a bad path now, they may not be if we introduce them to Islam. That may be what brings them towards the good.
And you came to
Islam, everyone.
You came to Islam through friends, basically, right?
Yeah, friends. So my experience was at school. I had exposure to Muslims. And alhamdulillah, they were good Muslims and they brought me into Islam. So again, speaking to people, speak to your colleagues, speak to your non-Muslim mates, but in a way which in the back of your mind, you're trying to showcase Islam all the time. That's our purpose here. If we're not here to spread Islam, go back to a Muslim country. There were some scholars...
Go back to where you came from.
Kind of. Get back to wherever. There are scholars in Islam who say this.
Of course.
There are rulings in Islam.
That's the mainstream position.
If you're in Dar al-Kufr and your purpose is to just earn money or to have fun, you have no business being here. Scholars would say that. I've heard it. I'm not being rude. If you're going to stay here, you have an obligation to spread Islam whilst you're also working, whilst you're also living here, doing whatever else you're doing. You have to spread Islam. You can't just sit down and do nothing. It's an obligation.
It has to be part of your daily life, ultimately. And so obviously if you're working in an environment where there's lots of non-Muslim colleagues, you give dawah to them. It doesn't have to be always direct, but it can be indirect as well through your example. But ultimately, you are trying to deliver the message of Islam to them, and whether they convert or not is their business. But you want to deliver the message.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, just think about what you're doing in your life. If literally you are staying here, and all you're trying to do is accumulate wealth and money and children. I believe that Islam says this as well, it's haram to stay here in a non-Muslim country.
Yeah.
So if you're going to stay and you're going to stick around, and I know most of you are, then think about what dawah you're giving.
This is the potential fruit that's going to come about from it. These are celebrity examples of this, but obviously there are many others that are not celebrity, but these are viral examples of celebrities appearing to, if they haven't embraced Islam, then maybe they're on their way. This is Anne Hathaway, a very famous actress in the West. She came out saying, inshallah. She dropped it randomly in an interview that she gave. Let's see if we can play it out so you get a taste of it.
I just really want to hopefully live for and enjoy a life. I want to have a long, healthy life. Inshallah, I hope so. I feel like by default, I can't fear aging. So I guess the way that I get through it.
So yeah, there's Anne Hathaway, and then another very popular example that went viral is Cristiano Ronaldo appearing to say the words Bismillah before scoring. That's pretty much. I mean, I think even
let me try and lip read.
A few lip readers actually reacted to this video. It went really viral, totally international. Millions and millions of people around the world watched it, saying Bismillah before scoring a wicked penalty for the Saudi team that he plays for. in Arabia. There you go. So Bismillah, he got it in nicely. And his son has said Alhamdulillah, I think in another interview, like blatantly. So his son is also,
they're living in Saudi Arabia, aren't they?
They're living in Saudi Arabia. Now, you know, some people will say, well, what's the point? Who cares about celebrities saying it? I don't even know if these people have embraced Islam, but it gets people talking about it, Roshan, and that's what I think is a beautiful thing.
Me personally, I mean, I don't like celebrity culture. I think it's a curse. And I think generally, the very notion that so many of our youngsters use these people as role models is not a good thing. But there's no doubt about it. You know, when they go viral, say something like Mohamed Salah in Liverpool, just doing sujood when he scores. It is a powerful thing, gets people interested in Islam, especially the non-Muslims. Yeah.
The only final message I want to do on this before we move on to the other subjects, we've got quite a few more good ones to talk about, is not only do we have to convert people and encourage people to learn about Islam, but when they do embrace Islam, we have to take care of them as well and remember that a lot of people will embrace Islam, but then a Dawah expert told me that first year after they've embraced Islam is basically make or break year, because within the first year, it's like a business. The likelihood of it going bust will be in that first year. Just as converts, if they're going to leave Islam, it will probably be in that first year. Once they get past that hurdle, they're normally good to go on their own and you don't have to worry about them so much. But within that first year, if they get no support, if they have a bad experience, they risk leaving Islam, basically. And I think this video really...
it's not about numbers, it's about quality, isn't it?
Quality as well as numbers. I mean, people are interested, but once they get in, what are they experiencing? Let's just play out a quick clip here of a sister, an English sister who embraced Islam, and she's literally crying online about having a bad experience and what she's going through.
Assalamu alaikum. I don't even know how to start this video, and it's not even that deep. But I just wanted to be completely open and honest on here, because if there's anyone else struggling or going through something similar, I don't think people understand how hard it is, for reverts sometimes, especially reverts that have come from a completely different life before. I've come from a completely different life, and that life did not serve me in any way whatsoever, but sometimes it's really hard to think back to when, I had loads of friends, or when I was going out all the time, and, when I was doing this, and I was outgoing, and it's I'm still myself. I'm still myself.
So basically, it's a long reaction video. She's been through a lot of stuff. Now she's Muslim. People are moving away from her. Family, friends. She feels disconnected. No one's around her, and it's tough. It's tough. It's a massive lifestyle change that you go through. And although she loves Islam, literally overnight, once you embrace Islam, people just treat you different, and you can feel completely alone.
Did you feel that way?
At times, I mean, I was lucky. I did still have family around me who, they didn't just drop me. I've noticed women tend to have really bad experiences because I think, men, they kind of can get on with it. They're a bit more independent. Their families won't be so harsh on them. But so many women, I've heard their story, and their families seem much more willing to bully them, to ditch them, to have a go at them, constantly give them abuse over it, talk to them in a derogatory way, because that's just how people treat women sometimes. They're less able to defend themselves, their beliefs. People think they're just being stupid or whatever. So it's a big thing. So we have to rally around our converts.
There's no reason why this sister. I mean, I think a community would solve the issue for this sister, and I think, and this is one thing where we can help. If people, need a community, we are very good at connecting people in the UK. So if you're feeling this way, or if you need help, physical help or whatever help, reach out to us, and we'll connect local people in your area with you, inshallah.
Absolutely. Now, another subject which we've been asked about, and I'm happy to talk about it because I'm getting really involved and active on this as well, is the homeschooling thing. So homeschooling is becoming a big thing here in the UK. It's rising in popularity, not just among Muslims, but among all types. And the government's starting to legislate on it and taking note. But I think as Muslims, we have to capitalize on this because it's an option available to us, which can be very beneficial. There's an interesting read on Muslim Skeptic, which says Muslims, we should normalize Islamic homeschooling. We need to normalize homeschooling as Muslims, making homeschooling a normal, doable, accessible option. So read the article. It's an interesting read. It's basically, I'm going to echo a lot of its messaging in this show. I had 3 kids, under 5s. And one of the things which we were really not sure about is education. Should we put them in public schools? My wife was interested in the idea of homeschooling, but we were scared by it. We were intimidated by it. Roshan gave me some good advice, and as well as some other people, and alhamdulillah, we've gone down that route. And I was surprised to learn just how much of an option, how much of an easy option it is to do.
Absolutely.
You know, you assume, you put barriers in your mind, assumptions like, oh, you know, is it even possible? Is it doable? Is the government going to allow it? Am I allowed to do it? Whatever. And actually, yeah, you are. Absolutely. You have a right to do it as a parent. In fact, there are some cases where schools are so, they don't have capacity in some areas of this country where they actually do encourage you. The local authority actually encourages parents to do it if they can. And I'm telling you something right now, no one can teach your kids better than you can. If you're a good parent, inshallah you are. And if you do care about your children and love them and want them to become good and successful people in the future, no one's going to teach them better than you, if you have the means to do so. So yeah, I don't know what you think about this, Roshan. I'm doing it. Yeah. I enjoy it. I think it's something that more people should do if they can.
I think we all did it a little bit during COVID. And we did it with our daughter for a year after COVID as well. Yeah, basically, I regret not sending all my children homeschooling all my children. You know, I have 3 and they've all gone through the state system. And I've only had a glimpse of homeschooling, unlike many other of my friends. And I could see that it was very doable, like you say, especially when they're smaller. And let's say they're at primary school level and it's not so specialized. As long as you're a diligent parent or parents and you're involved with your children's education, it's very doable. And I think they can learn more in 3 hours of intensive homeschooling per day than they will in 8 hours of actual schooling a day. Because there's so much messing around in school. There's 30 kids per class. They waste so much time having lunch, dinner, going to the toilet, you know, discipline, that kind of stuff. I think the only negative is that maybe the social aspect, but then you can find homeschooling clubs and stuff like that. But there's so much flexibility to your day as parents as well. You don't have to do the school run. You can go on a holiday in term time rather than when it's 3 times more expensive during school holidays. There's so many more options, and obviously there's the option of bonding with your children, and that's the ultimate prize, but also giving them that Islamic education they won't get in a state school. So I'm very much for homeschooling. I wish I'd done it with my own children rather than just for a few years. And I would encourage every Muslim to do it. I would say it's even more, people are going to criticize me for this, but I think it's more important for girls than it is for boys. I think boys, they can kind of survive in the big bad world to a certain extent, whereas we need to protect our girls from, you know, the malign influences in public schools, all this LGBT nonsense, the rubbish they learn. But if you're going to do the homeschooling, do it well. You know, so obviously follow the national curriculum, but also have that Islamic aspect to the education as well, and take it seriously. Have a timetable, have a schedule. Don't let that slip.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, you know, you can put your kid in the school, they're in a room with like 30 other students. How much are they actually going to get focused on? You know, are they actually going to get quality care? Especially if your kid, you know, is not doing so well. Maybe they need more one-to-one support. Schools can't necessarily provide that. So many kids. I mean, when I was at school, I was basically neglected, you know, and there were times where I was made to feel like I'm stupid or something, you know, because literally, you know, I wasn't succeeding in maths. I'm not good at maths, for example. So they put you on the stupid kids table, you know. That's how I felt. That's what I felt like. And what I needed was support to learn maths. It wasn't because I was stupid, but I felt like it, and I felt like I couldn't do it. So I basically would give up, you know, and I think so many kids have a similar experience. But when you're at home, you can give them that one-to-one, really push them through, encourage them to succeed, and you know them very well. So no one can teach your kids better than you can, inshallah. The only thing I will say is obviously, you know, you have to take it seriously. If you're going to keep your kid at home and then do practically nothing, not have a structured format in which you're going to educate them, buy them the right literature, there are costs involved, then maybe it's not for you. Maybe homeschooling is not for everyone, But the message I want to put out there is that so many people probably can do it, but don't even bother to consider it because they think it's just a non-option. It's not even there. And it is there, and it's not scary. It's actually enjoyable, wonderful. I'm teaching my kids like how to grow things. I'm teaching them already about Islam and Islamic history, introducing them to the Quran. That's part of learning. We're playing together through learning, drawing things and doing arts and crafts, all at home. And it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. And you get to mold your child in the way you want them to be, and focus. You can identify their skills and their talents and then work on that and tweak the education for their benefit. So inshallah, I hope it goes well for me. I just think it's an experience I'm enjoying so much, and we should normalize it. Absolutely, we should normalize it. And I think that, parenting in general is very important. Like, we should discuss it more. We should discuss it more, parenting. One thing I will say that's so annoying, Roshan, is I think as a community, we're not supporting each other enough with raising kids. And what I mean by that is, where I am, there are homeschooling clubs and options available run by non-Muslims for non-Muslims, essentially. I don't find many Muslim options, Muslim homeschooling classes and initiatives where you can put your kid in a room with other Muslims and do the same activity. Do mosques do it? They have probably Arabic learning classes.
After school, yeah.
But what about, and I suppose a lot of them you have to pay for those services, what about an hour a week where homeschooling parents can just come in with their kids, toddlers, whatever age, and just play around for a bit, for an hour, use the mosque space, and then just go home? I don't find them where I am. Maybe that's something we need to do.
We need a UK Muslim homeschooling movement, don't we?
We do. That's what I'm calling for. We need that. Because
let's take advantage of the freedoms we have. In France, they're not even allowed to do this.
Really?
It's against the law to homeschool your kids, because they want to get Muslim kids into public education and indoctrinate them.
Yeah,
we have this freedom and ability in the UK, and I'm not advocating getting them in, just like indoctrinating them to hate the country. No, they can still be productive citizens and good citizens that benefit society, Muslim and non-Muslim.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have this freedom. Let's take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's the only downside to the homeschooling thing that I would say so far, is that there seems to be a lack of Muslim support networks out there for homeschooling. And that's
start
weird.
a movement. Let's start a movement, brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
Let's get this more systematic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to connect, because parents can connect around the kids can make friends. You're in a Muslim environment, that's what we want.
The only thing is,
so
Robert, is that the reality is that still most Muslims won't be able to do this, because life is so expensive in the UK that they need two breadwinners, basically. So it's that's how Muslims think. And I realize that life is tough. We're all feeling the pinch. So I'm not dismissing that. But if you do have the opportunity to have one parent at home, and that parent is capable of homeschooling, then please, take advantage. Don't, just giving your kids to strangers for 8 hours a day when you don't have to do that is negligence, I think. It's negligence on you.
And we do have that option. I mean, so many Muslim families, even if they don't have a lot of money, they do still keep the woman at home. It's a thing that exists in our community, and we're proud of it. And while she's at home, she could be educating the kids as well as feeding them, clothing them, and raising them in other ways. So yeah, it's a big thing I'm pushing now. Guys, tell me what you think in the comments section. I want to hear what you guys have to say about what we've discussed so far. Homeschooling, parenting issues. We're going to do more shows like this, inshallah. So put your comments and your suggestions in, and maybe we'll react to them in a future show and talk about subjects that you want to hear us talk about, so we can open up these conversations and help to empower our community, and ultimately, inshallah.
What's next, Robert?
Let's give you a chance to speak now. I've been dominating the show, I think, but you've got some messaging you want to put out there. The importance of the Arabic language.
Oh yes,
this is a big one for Roshan.
This is a big one for me.
You've already ranted about it for 13 straight minutes online. Yes. I saw your video here, and it was a good one, well received.
So I'm just gonna summarize what I said, basically. Yeah. So my big bugbear is the neglect we have as Muslims of the Arabic language. Now, people are going to be surprised at that because I say, I send my child to madrasa 3 hours after school every day and I'm not neglecting the Arabic language. Even those people who send your children to school to learn Quranic Arabic 3 hours after, the school day, I would say even you are neglecting the Arabic language. And the only way to give Arabic what it's due, the divine language, the language of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the language of the Sahaba, the language of the Quran, to give it what it's due, we need to make it the lingua franca of the Muslims, so that it's not just a religious language, but that it's a language of everyday communication. This is my ambition, and this is why I think people neglect Arabic, because it's not just a religious language that we relegate to reciting the Quran. We don't know what we're saying. The words do not imbibe our hearts, do not penetrate our hearts, because we don't understand them. Arabic is a living language of communication. And as someone who's been a lifelong Arabic learner my whole life, I would say that I understand. I'm at the stage now where I can read the Quran, 75% of it I can understand. I always have the English translation beside me when I'm reciting as well for things I don't understand, but that has deepened my connection with the Word of God and with Allah Himself, Allah Almighty Himself, simply because I can understand Arabic better than the average the average Muslim who's not a native language Arabic speaker. So all I would say is this, is that we need to not only teach our kids how to recite Quran with beautiful tajweed, we need to actually teach them the Arabic language as a method of communication between different Muslims from different countries. So I went to Makkah recently, okay? And unfortunately, Muslims that didn't have Arabic as a native tongue were communicating with each other in English, the language of the colonizers, the language of the kuffar, etc., or French or other languages. But their link language should be classical Fusha, it should be classical Arabic. And I sincerely believe that if we want to revive the Ummah as an Ummah of strength and dignity, then we actually can't do it without reviving the Arabic language as a living, everyday language of communication. So that's my message today.
Yeah, and there's no doubt, I think I'm one of the guilty party here, I think Arabic is a beautiful language and it'll help us to connect. And it's just great, isn't it? If you learn more languages, it makes you a smarter person. And obviously this is a language which we should all learn. But there is the thing about, we've talked a lot today about Dawah, learning Arabic, homeschooling. This is all feeding into the idea of a Muslim bubble that that does exist already. Are we too into-focused? Perhaps that's a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, what do you think of that? Because that's something that people criticize you for that sometimes.
I mean, just before I get onto this, one thing I forgot to mention is practical ways of learning Arabic. If you want to learn Arabic, I started off with a book called Mastering Arabic by Jane Whitewick and Mahmoud Ghaffar. It's available online. It'll take you from beginner to intermediate level. Then they have a second book taking you from intermediate level to more advanced level. So that's Jane Whitewick, Mahmoud Ghaffar, Mastering Arabic. Try to listen to podcasts every day in the Arabic language. Choose a subject you like. Could be politics. For me, it's politics. So I listen to Al Jazeera all the time, or to kind of news-related podcasts. Could be travel podcasts, sports podcasts, something that you're interested in. Take it in small chunks. 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, but every single day consistently. Don't burn out by doing 1 hour, 2 hours, and then nothing for a week. Just every day we can find 5 minutes of our time to devote to the language of the Quran, can't we? The language of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the language of Jannah. So that's my practical advice on those who want to embark on this journey. The best thing to do is actually to move to an Arabic-speaking country and do a full immersion course. That's what is really going to take you to a really good level. But if you can't do that, then follow the path that I just outlined. Living in a Muslim bubble.
Yeah, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I mean, I must admit, I was asked in that survey, the convert survey, how often do you speak to Muslims? Like, is it every day?
Yeah.
And when I was answering it, I was like, yeah, every single day. And they asked like things like, when do you speak to non-Muslims? And I was like, maybe a few times a week, you know, like a proper conversation where you like hang out with non-Muslims. Since I got married, it's very low now, because obviously I work for 5 Pillars. I mean, we're all Muslim here, you know, so hardly ever. So I am in a bit of a bubble, to be honest with you.
I am definitely as well. I think that, I mean, obviously I didn't grow up like that. I grew up in a kind of a secular environment, obviously went to a non-Muslim school, and at university hung out with non-Muslims a lot. But I think after university and after I chose a Muslim career path through journalism, obviously I worked in the mainstream media for a while as well. I would say after the age of 30, you know, I'm past 50 now. So the last 20 years, I think I have lived in a Muslim bubble. You know, whether it's in the UK or abroad, it's always been a bit of a Muslim bubble. And my interaction with non-Muslims is very limited to like petrol stations or supermarkets or insulting each other on X, you know.
I suppose.
Or reporting crimes to the police, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, my actual interaction with non-Muslims has been quite limited. I'm completely comfortable with that and happy with that. I must admit, I'm just being honest here. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously, to give dawah, you need to be interacting with non-Muslims. So I'm not saying it's a great thing, but I'm comfortable in my Muslim bubble. I'll also be honest. Maybe you can kind of fire back a little bit.
Mitigate the damage.
Yeah, mitigate the damage a little bit. But yeah, I just find the lives of after really becoming a practicing Muslim and getting deep into Islam, I find the lives of non-Muslims to be quite meaningless and vacuous and boring, you know? So I think if you and me are together, right, we're going to talk about deep issues. We're going to talk about meaning of life, and this is normal for us. We're not embarrassed by it. But non-Muslims, they'll be talking about EastEnders, football, relationships, music. I know I'm generalizing, but I think compared to the Muslim life, it's such a rich life.
It's a philosopher's life.
Compared to the non-Muslim life, which is a really poor life in every single way.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm quite a boring person, even after I became Muslim, I think. But yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from, you know. Yeah, it's a question. I mean, yeah, we shouldn't generalize, I guess. I mean, brothers and sisters, what do you think? Do you think that non-Muslims are boring? I mean, that's the message that Russians put out there.
They're shallow, aren't they? They're very shallow.
I mean, I must admit that I'm not interested by EastEnders. I'm less interested now in football than I ever was before. But I know many Muslims are. So, you know, I think maybe we're just too boring old people. You know, I feel like I'm older than I look by the way my personality is. So maybe that's the issue. Maybe we're just not cool enough. I don't know what it is. But yeah.
I mean, I have met interesting non-Muslims with lots of personality in my younger days. A lot of them were on the path to Islam. That's why I was interested in them. Some of them weren't, but they were still interesting in a kind of superficial way.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I've lost contact with them all. A few of them, you know, old school friends. For example, I did have an email kind of encounter with old school friends from back 20, 30 years, you know? And we did have a meetup about 15 years ago. And I interacted with all of them. And these were people that I kind of looked up to in school and thought they were really interesting and you know, maybe even was a bit jealous of, I want to be like them. And I thought, you're all a bunch of boring sods, man. It's like you have no meaning in your life. Like you're sun readers, you're like, you know, and after that meeting, I never had the slightest desire of having any contact with them again.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't particularly look for... Yeah, it's hard to admit, isn't it? But I don't really look for non-Muslim friends or anything like that. I don't look for it.
You are the company you keep.
I'm not mean to anyone. But yeah, like, I think because Islam brings you so much happiness and inner peace, and other Muslims are also sharing in that happiness of being a Muslim, you just gravitate to each other, you know, and you become like, you know, like Saturn's rings, all the bits of orbit just come into a big, beautiful circle and it builds that ring. That's what the Muslim community is. We're just all in this big, happy circle. Yeah. And then all these non-Muslim influences, we're just not interested in it. So I think maybe we need to expand the bubble.
We've won to
encompass the entire country, you know, just maybe that's the
answer. We've won the lottery in life, haven't we? You know, we literally have. Like
I'm not even going to be.
We might not have any money or any power, but literally we have won the lottery in life by being born Muslim or embracing Islam.
I'm just so happy, man. I don't know what to say. I am genuinely so happy with life. Yeah, alhamdulillah. Thank you, God. I don't want to say be arrogant or anything. Alhamdulillah. May Allah humble us all in a nice way, inshallah. But yeah, I am just so happy to be Muslim, man. And all I want to do is hang out with other Muslims and be Islamic as much as I possibly can. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think let's just make everyone else Islamic.
It's just a privilege and an honor to be a Muslim, isn't it?
Man.
Yeah. It's literally the best way of life. It's the truth. Why would you want to choose any other path?
Yeah, you're in the best club in the world, VIP. You're living that life. Why would you want to go to any other way?
Why would you want to choose darkness over light? Like literally, we are playing for Real Madrid. We are playing for the top club in La Liga or Premier League. Man. Why would we want to drop to the 4th division?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a good way. I'm a Barcelona star, man. Alhamdulillah. that makes me feel bad. I think that's the conclusion to this. I mean, guys, tell us what you think. Maybe we're not approaching this the right way. Maybe you have a different opinion. But, you know, I'm happy. I think Islam's perfect. I'm sticking with Islam. I don't care about it. I'm just going to expand the bubble if I can and just bring more people into it. I think that's my approach. Hijra as well. We did mention Hijra a little bit. Is there anything you want to say?
Why don't we do a topic that you're going to talk about more? So give me a bit of a break.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about Hijra later.
Well, to be honest with you, we've got the next one, Hijab and feminism. The reason is it's going to get you really animated.
And any of your topics?
There is something, I think I've really gone through mine. I mean, I do have more things to say, but I want to leave it for maybe another show.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, I think I'll expand more on the parenting aspect of things, like, because that's something I'm really into now is my kids and being a parent. So I think Muslim parenting, if you guys think that's a good topic, let me know, because that's something I want to talk about a lot more. But there's this
Hijra and Hijab.
There's this video which has gone viral. What it is there's been some online beef. I don't know the ins and outs of it, so I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but there's some sister, a hijab wearing sister, who's gone viral for things she said. She said things which are like feminist. She said things which are critical of Muslim men, that type of thing. And I don't know the background behind it, but other Muslims have, you know, they've reacted to her videos. They've been having a go at her and this and that for her views. I'll play a clip now and open up this discussion, because I think the concept of feminism in the Muslim world and how it's manifesting itself is a subject that gets people really passionate and animated.
But we absolutely do not mean Allah is a man. Doesn't really matter if we say she, it's just a pronoun. I really believe that calling Allah he all our lives, we have internalize Allah as a man. I went and made dua, like I was praying, I was in sujood, and I was making dua to Allah, referring to Allah as she, and thinking about Allah's feminine qualities. Like Allah's name, Ar-Rahman, comes from the word Rahm, which means womb. Like the closest thing on earth to God is the womb of a woman. If I internalize Allah more as feminine than masculine, I genuinely think that would heal something so deep inside my soul. If
I don't want to even hear this rubbish.
Allah as she all my life, I don't think I would have the level of religious trauma that I have. But in
Can
English,
we
she
stop
is not
it?
Subhanahu addressed himself in the Holy Quran. It's obvious to the majority of Muslims that you're just recycling outdated feminist crap from 5 years ago and applying it to Islam like a munafiq. I assume from your pronunciation that you come from an Arabic-speaking background. So you should know Arabic convention uses a masculine he as a default in instances where there is not a biological gender being referenced. Also, Arabic has no true neutral pronoun like the English word it. So every noun and pronoun is either masculine or feminine. So when Allah subhanahu is referred to as he, this is a grammatical default, not a statement about gender.
So there was a little rebuttal there as well from the Muslim mum who's running a really good platform herself. But yeah, it's feminism, women's approach to the hijab. I mean, what do you make of it all, Roshan?
Feminism is a curse. It's an absolute curse. I think everything is a curse compared to Islam. Why would we need other, European man-made ideologies to influence us when we have Islam and the answers are in Islam? I just don't get Muslim socialists, Muslim feminists, Muslim left wing, Muslim right wing. Just be a Muslim. Everything's there. All we have to do, we have the truth in front of us. All we have to do is understand that truth and interpret that truth with the help of scholars, etc. That's all we have to do. We don't have to look for other ideologies. I just think feminism is such a curse. I think being able to have a platform when you don't have wisdom is a curse as well. And obviously in the modern world, we grew up in the West, where you're taught that your opinion counts and you have as much right to talk about an issue. No, you bloody don't have as much right to talk about an issue. Like, I don't know the first thing about surgery. I don't have the right to talk about surgery, like brain surgery, compared to a brain doctor. You know, expertise is what gives you that right to talk about, not just having a platform and having a mouth with words coming out. And I just think that, unfortunately, a lot of these feminists, it's not just feminists, it can be kind of toxic masculine men as well, like the gym bros or whatever, some of the Dawah bros, it can be them as well. I'm not just picking on women. Just the fact that they can attract attention can be a curse, because then this gets into kind of, people start thinking about it and thinking maybe she's got a point when she's got no point whatsoever. I don't know, man. I just think we're in danger of normalizing stuff within the Muslim community. I'm talking about stuff which is un-Islamic. And hijab is, I know I'm going to get, the sisters are going to come down at me on this, or some of them are. But hijab is something that I'm quite worried about, because I think we're normalizing within the community the fact that our sisters don't have to wear hijab. And I think that's a problem. And I know that, first of all, we're all agreed that hijab is wajib, right? That is the consensus of the scholars. And in some Sunni schools of thought, not just hijab, but niqab is wajib. That's the default position. So, this is, I know that men, we don't have the same obligation. Allah hasn't tested us in these ways, but Allah tests who he wills, how he wills. And to go around without a hijab as a sister is like you're openly sinning every day of your life, and I don't know how you can do that, because sins, we all commit sins, but let's keep them hidden. Let's not have them open. Let's not be openly defying Allah every day of your life in public. So that's my position. It's not something that Muslims want to talk about very much, because we all have relatives, we all have friends who don't wear hijab, and they are believing Muslims and they're struggling with the hijab. But I think at some point we end up being complicit if we accept it as being normal. I remember working at, I remember working at Islam Channel at a time where, yes, we had guests that didn't wear hijab. We didn't force the hijab on them, but all the presenters had to wear hijab because they were representing Islam Channel. Now, that's no longer the case, and us in 5 pillars. So obviously we don't want to exclude 50% of our sisters in the UK who don't wear hijab. We still want to reach out to them. We want them to be part of our community. Obviously, if we're out and about in the streets, we're not going to pick the hijabis and the non-hijabis if it's a pertinent issue, etc. If we have them on our podcast, there has to be an editorial reason for them to be there if they're not wearing hijab. These are the things that we're discussing internally at 5 Pillars. Maybe you can join the conversation. But the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think we've got to a stage now where we have normalized not wearing hijab amongst the Muslim community. And it's okay. As long as you put it on when you're praying, it's okay. Actually, it's not okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just, how do we address this? I think that's why a lot of men shy away from it. How do we address it? How do we talk about it? The fact is, no one's perfect. And I think a lot of women, this is the experience I've had if I see women talking about this, because what happens often online is Dawah bros will talk about this. I won't name names, but people talk about this from time to time. And then there's a backlash from sisters who say, yeah, but the way you're doing it is not right. What about you? You're a hypocrite. You did this, you did that in the past, and things like that. So I think there's this sense of feeling that women feel sort of like discriminated against, or there's a hypocrisy, there's a double standard applied from men. And we can disagree. It's like men and women, like, oh, bloody women and oh, bloody men and this and that. But we have to find a way to breach through that, I think, because that's putting up a barrier which will actually make women feel like they have to resist like this male hypocrisy, that seems to be the problem. Maybe that's part of feminism. I don't know, but the fact is, it's there, isn't it?
It's got nothing
so what
to
are we
do
going to
with
do?
it. It's got nothing to. You see, the thing is that even some Muslims think like, oh, if I put a hijab on, I'm submitting to my husband, or I'm submitting. Actually, no, you're submitting to God. This is nothing about obeying men or men obeying women.
But
it's about submitting to Allah's rules.
That's true, and the women know that. That's the thing. What I'm trying to say is the sisters, they know that. But what they're trying to say is they'll do it when they're ready and they've made the choices between them and Allah. Not
they
when
could die
not
tomorrow.
When, not when like Roshan Saleh says.
But they could die tomorrow. We could all die tomorrow. We should all stop sinning today. And of course, we're all sinners. But I just think this is a very open way of sinning.
Like, for example, I guess like the Mufti Menk approach is to handle it softly and, go easy and, accommodate and not be, not like, going harsh.
What if you die tomorrow?
That's true. Remind them, you can remind people of that. That's absolutely true. That is a good point.
None of us, time is running out for all of us.
I just feel like I've heard both sides and I've watched it play out online, because this is where the clash happens, is online, and I just see the way sisters are their response
very defensive,
and I think it is defensive, but maybe there's some truth to it, and if you don't acknowledge that, you can't build that bridge to connect and have a positive conversation on this. If we're just going to go to war with sisters,
no, we shouldn't do that.
What are they going to do? They're going to knuckle down and hit
or
back.
Maybe it'll focus their minds.
They're going to resist,
Or maybe it'll focus
their
their minds.
You know what women are like, Roshan. You're married, you've got a daughter, come on. If you're like pushing it on them, they're going to push back. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's a balance. I don't have the answers. I'm not giving anyone advice, by the way. I don't know. I'm just saying that's my observation of the situation, because I always see this happen online, people arguing about it, sisters, what they're saying.
I just don't want to get to the you see, if any of us are sinning, and we all sin, all right, and if we're aware of each other's sins, if you're a friend, you give advice, don't you? Privately, you give advice and say, look,
yeah, exactly,
this isn't good, you should stop doing that, this is the way to do it. And that's what I want to see within I don't want to shame our sisters publicly. I don't want to have witch hunts against non-hijabi women. I'm against that. But I just don't want to normalize the fact that it's okay not to wear the hijab if you're a grown Muslim woman.
Not. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm against. And that's why I think in our communities, in our families, we need to be having these conversations with our sisters, explaining to them why the hijab is your honor and your protection and ultimately your submission to Allah. I just don't want to normalize not wearing it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would say.
I know what you mean. I just think it's, whether we like it or not, feminism has crept in. And I think that now it's there, we have to deal with it. I'm not saying...
by eradicating it.
We do have to eradicate it, but that's the thing. What's the strategy? What's the battle plan? What, do we go in with a stick and start beating women?
Stick and carrot.
Yeah.
No. No. Edit that out. I didn't know you were going to big up the beating issue, just as I say stick. I think there's a argument for both the softly approach, but also the hard line approach. And I think we have to have a goal of getting all our sisters to wear hijab.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like every single one of them.
Yeah.
Just like we have to have the goal of getting all our brothers and sisters not to drink alcohol or not to consume riba, etc., etc. That's it.
Yeah. Maybe we should...
why is it so sensitive? I don't know.
It's very...
But why is this so sensitive about this? Dilly. I think basically... Shall I say what Dilly told me?
I think, just let me answer your question. I think basically the crux of the problem is that women think that men are hypocrites. That's what I think.
Well, we are. But it doesn't mean we're wrong on this one. We are hypocrites, but we're also right on this one,
Yeah. What can I say? But yeah, what was Dilly saying?
Dilly told me something. I'm not sure whether I should... Maybe we should just edit this out later. Okay, a friend...
There's a lot of edits in this show.
A friend told me that the reason why a lot of our sisters, our believing, sincere Muslim sisters, don't like wearing the hijab or resist wearing it is because women like to beautify. It's in their nature, in their fitra. They like to feel attractive and they like to show the world how beautiful they are. Now, us blokes, we're basically ugly, aren't we? Like, when it comes down to
Smelly,
it,
hairy.
we're pretty, we're hairy, we're smelly, we're,
Yeah.
our
I know you
noses
are.
are too big or too small, we're too small or too short. Women,
Cockeyed.
women have the beauty, they're the fairer sex, and they love to beautify. And they feel that wearing the hijab takes away from that beautification.
I'm just thinking about it.
Silence.
I'm thinking deeply about this because I think it's an issue there and we've got to address it. I think we should address this, you and me. I think we're the ones to do it.
No female voices.
No, we don't need a female voice. But yeah, beautify. I guess it's true. They do like to beautify. I heard that because you said that they want to beautify to impress everyone, right? I think if you're a bad woman, yeah, you'd want to impress men, right? That's a bad thing. I don't think most women want to do that, though, especially Muslim women. But they like to beautify themselves and impress other women.
Absolutely.
Do you know what it is? They're competing against other women. So men will look at it and think, oh, who are you trying to impress? Well, actually, most of the time, I think women are actually trying to outdo other women. They're not trying to impress men's gaze necessarily. There are bad women out there, don't get me wrong, that do that. You only have to freaking know what OnlyFans is about, which I don't. But yeah, God forbid anyone stumbles on that site. I'm going to bleep it so I don't advertise it. But yeah. I just want solutions, you know what I mean? I want solutions to this. So yeah, tell me, guys, you guys are going to have to comment
on this. What my
friend
said got me thinking, to be honest. And I think it is true. So I think men are kind of, we need to feel kind of respected. And if anyone takes away that respect, we get very defensive, don't we? Whereas I think women, maybe if they take away their beauty,
yeah,
they get defensive.
That's a good point.
I don't know.
That's a good point.
Something to think about.
Maybe we need to get a woman on here who's gonna.
No, I don't think so.
not on the show or anything necessarily, because I know there's problems with that.
Let's get the Muslim mum on.
Yeah, Muslim mum.
I think you're in touch with her, right? You've interviewed her before.
Yeah, Muslim mum.
Let's get a Muslim mum on next. Let's send this segment to the Muslim mum.
Yeah.
And get her on in the near future.
Maybe
inshallah.
Like how Iran supports proxies that do their thing, and then they push their message and whatever in that area. We need a female proxy who is good on this message, who actually has a plan to go out there and preach to women and push this issue. Because, as good as you are on most things, Roshan, I don't think women really want to sit and listen to you lecture them on the hijab.
They don't. Such a shame.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'll listen to you lecture sort of the hijab.
Because
I don't think women are going to sign up for that, to be honest with you.
Should we get on to our final topic? Because
what else is there, to be honest? Oh, Hijra, yeah. So here we go. Final topic. Big one that Roshan wanted to talk about. Guys, put your comments in the comments section. We've discussed loads of things this episode, and I really want to hear what you guys think. This is a very opinionated episode. Maybe we're right. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe you have a better suggestion. Put it in the comments section, and inshallah we'll react to it in a future show. So Hijra. We've discussed it a bit already today. If you're here, you should be spreading Islam, frankly. If you're not doing that, maybe you shouldn't be here. It's as simple as that. But maybe people are thinking about Hijra now because of the problems that are springing up in the West. Muslims are discriminated against. There's a lot of racism. How are your kids getting educated? You want them to grow up Muslim or freaking not Muslim, in a non-Muslim country. That's a risk. What's your view on Hijra? I think I would do it if I had the chance.
I'm pro-Hijra, 100%. I think the reality is, and I said this during my speech at the recent iftar, I think the reality is vast majority of British Muslims, for whatever reason, some legitimate, some not legitimate, are going to stay here. So Hijra isn't even a option for them. But I think for maybe 10%, it is an option. And obviously we're all thinking about it. So what I'm going to say now is for the people who want to make Hijra and who are seriously thinking about making Hijra, where would you go to?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? That's the question.
Yeah, because I do believe if you don't like it here, I actually think it's actually better if you do leave. I'm with Tommy Robertson on this. I think Muslims are better in Muslim environments, and religiously we're better because we're weak as human beings. So our environment influences us, and if we're getting all these kind of non-Muslim signals going into our head, it's going to influence us and going to make us weaker Muslims for the vast majority of us. So actually, I think if you do have the opportunity to leave, you should leave. And I would say, from my experience, there are 3 main destinations which Muslims are most likely to be attracted by. Because we are a bit soft as Western, we're used to Western creature comforts. We need our halal entertainment and all that kind of stuff, you know. So I think Afghanistan, which would be would be the ideal destination, a cave in Afghanistan. No, Afghanistan is one that I seriously think Muslims should consider, but I think British Muslims are too soft for it.
I think that's our plan B. If we get ousted from the UK, we've got a nice cave lined up in Afghanistan.
With internet connection and shisha. And, yeah. But no, look, if you're really considering, I mean, obvious destinations for British Muslims will be Pakistan and Bangladesh, because that's where the majority of British Muslims are from, and they might have family there, easy, you might know the language, etc. But both these countries are quite problematic in terms of the political stability and, you know, many other reasons. So if you're not wedded to Bangladesh or Pakistan or your home country, wherever that is, and you're quite open-minded about where to go to, I think there's 3 main destinations. One is Qatar, where I have lived for 2.5 years or whatever it was, and know very well. Obviously, it's getting bombed now by the Iranians, so they pick a better time. But generally, Qatar has it's an opportunity to earn a good salary, tax-free salary, plenty of jobs over there, beautiful weather for 9 months of the year, 3 months it's too hot. Great Western modern facilities, very comfortable lifestyle, a mosque on every corner. Politics isn't as bad as Saudi Arabia or UAE. They can sell out to a certain extent. It is capitalistic. But at the same time, if you're determined to live a nice family lifestyle, Islamic family lifestyle, and learn about Islam and Arabic, you can do that. The opportunities will be there right on your doorstep. So that's one, Qatar. The next one, I think, is Turkey. So not too far from Qatar. More of a historic Muslim country with a deep Islamic history. Cities like Istanbul are just treasure troves of Islamic history. I know that you've been there, Robert. Also, a decent environment for Muslims, especially under Erdogan. Muslims have the room to practice and the space to breathe. Downsides is there's also a very large secular population, a lot of them very anti-Islamic. So that's the downside as well. But a beautiful country, a modern country, a comfortable country. A downside might be the language, whereas in Qatar you can get by very easily in English. In fact, English is the dominant language now in Qatar, I think. Whereas in Turkey you probably would have to learn another language, although in places like Istanbul, of course, and Ankara and other places where there's lots of foreigners, you can definitely get by with English. And the third destination, and perhaps the best, and it's not somewhere I've been, but I long to go, and I will go shortly, is Malaysia. Now, this actually, according to my friends and family and online videos and research that I've done, is probably the best destination for a Muslim, because it's an amazing country with beautiful landscapes, beautiful weather, great food, an Islamic environment, beautiful, happy people, etc., etc. The only downside is that it's a long way away. And if you're living in Europe or whatever, or it can be a bit of a trek to get there and back. But in terms of Islamic quality of life and even from a dunya perspective, your money can go a long way in Malaysia. And it's just amazing value for money. So those are the 3 destinations that I would, encourage you to look into. There are many other destinations, of course there are, across North Africa or even Indonesia, but these are the top 3, I think, when Muslims are considering making Hijra from the UK.
Yeah, Dr. Zakir Naik actually endorsed people moving to Malaysia recently. He said it's not 100% Sharia compliant. No, that's the only downside. But he said it's basically the best option out there. And he basically lives there himself. He advocates for it. He said that literally like this week. Sneeko hung out with him for like a day or 2. And
I knew you would have watched that video.
Yeah, definitely.
I knew you'd be straight on to Sneeko.
Yeah, well, he's doing all right, you know. He's going there. He's talking about Islam. He's not a sellout like Andrew Tate. I can actually see a genuine convert there, and also he does have a big platform. So yeah, naturally, I do watch his stuff. You know, one thing I'm going to say, maybe it's controversial. People can hit back in the comments. I think Saudi Arabia is an option frankly speaking. The heartland of Islam, where the two holy sites are located, there are a lot of people moving to Saudi Arabia for work. Politically, it's got problems, okay? Just as Qatar has problems or whatever. But I think that it's a developed country. There are job opportunities there as well. And, it's where you want to be if you're a Muslim at the end of the day, whether you like Saudi Arabia or not. You want to be close to those holy sites.
I think the best place, obviously, to go to make Hijra is actually Makkah and Medina. But the reality is, I know they're opening up the property markets there, etc. But generally, it's hard to live there long term if you're, in terms of being allowed to stay in those countries, unless you have work there. Definitely Saudi Arabia is an option, and many people would do that. And if they're going there to be close to the Haramain, that is amazing. And may Allah bless you and facilitate that for you. The only issue with Saudi Arabia is you have to shut your mouth. You can't be outspoken about anything. They're locking up scholars, they're locking up freedom of speech activists and Islamic activists, and they have a very problematic kind of foreign policy. They would have normalized with Israel. So the leadership is an issue there. And if you're a journalist, you and me could never live there because we would have to shut up. That would be the price to pay. Yeah. If you're willing to pay that price, then it's definitely an option.
Yeah, and there are potentially others as well. It really depends on who you are and what your circumstances. I've heard really good things about Oman, but it's very expensive. Very expensive.
Not so much. Oman is beautiful.
Is it?
Amazing.
I've heard it's expensive, basically, if you go there.
I've been there. It's my favorite out of all the Gulf countries. The mix of foreigners and locals is really good because the locals, they're not super, it's not a super rich country like the UAE or Qatar. The locals aren't all millionaires,
Yeah.
So they drive taxis, they do normal jobs. And because of that, they don't have this arrogance about them. So Oman is definitely another destination which I would look into. Yes.
Yeah, I do want to go there myself one day. It looks really beautiful, and I'm not going to lie. If an opportunity came my way where we could go to one of these countries, I would definitely pounce on it. But I think we're unique. We've got a mission here that we're also engaging in. We've got something important to do, and 5 pillars. This is where the action is for us. But you guys out there, tell us what you think.
Yeah, if any of you want to host us in your countries, anybody watching this in Malaysia, and you want to sponsor a 5 pillars office in Malaysia, which we can hang about and maybe have a little room next door where we can live for a few months of the year. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, frankly, we need to go international, I think, more so. We do travel around a lot, but we need offices, we need spaces.
Turkey, Malaysia,
we need
Qatar.
Accommodation. we need places to go and eat, whatever. It's just, give us that resource, man. We're going to make the most of it. You know how much of good work we do here. We can do a good work where you are as well, inshallah. Well, Roshan, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this show. It's been a good one.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. A bit of a different show.
It is a bit of a different show. I think we'll be doing these here and there, maybe once a month, just talking about other issues. So make sure you use that comment section today, guys. Tell us about things you want us to talk about. React to the topics we've discussed in this show. Tell us what you think, and maybe we'll react to your comments in a future show, and also we can pick up on more suggestions. A lot of these topics have been suggested by you guys in the past, and we finally got round to delivering on that promise to talk about them, alhamdulillah. Well, until next time, it is Assalamu alaikum, ma salama for now.